Welcome back to the Ultimate Mixdown. I hope you had a happy and healthy new year. Today we're going to dive into one of the best tried and true vocal widening techniques. You may have heard the term before, but what is vocal widening? Well, it's the process of making vocals sound broader or wider in the stereo field. That gives them a sense of depth and space in your music. Why is it so important? Well, vocal widening helps your vocals stand out in a mix, especially if it's a dense mix with a lot of things going on with the production and the instruments, as well as other effects. So whether you're working on pop, country, hip hop, or even podcast audio, a well-widened vocal can really transform your audio into a more professional and polished sound. Real quick, if you haven't picked it up, I have my 7 steps to a pro-level mix in the description below. Be sure to grab your free copy of that. Now let's get right into widening this vocal. So I have a vocal here for my song Collision, and I'll put a link in the description below so you can hear the final result of that. We have our lead vocal here. I took off all the processing on it, so no reverb, no delays. All we have is a little bit of tuning, EQ, and compression. So you can hear how it sounds in the mix. Lying on the road next to you. Okay, and because I took the processing out, it's a little quiet, so we'll solo it real quick. Lying on the road next to you. All right, and what we want to do is take this track and duplicate it twice, and you'll see why in a minute. Okay, now the reason that we duplicated it twice is because we're going to use one of these tracks as our center, and then we're going to pan the other two 100% left and 100% right. Now, ideally what you would be doing is you would have one take of your vocal down the center, and then another take or another 2 takes that you would pan left and right. But the trick can also be used using just the same take. That's what we're going to do here. So right now, if we play it, it's just going to sound like the vocal is louder. Lying on the road next to you. Because it's the same take, we have to do another step. And even if it was a different take, you can still do this step a little bit to make it sound extra wide. But we'll take our audio for the left side and we'll move it ever so slightly to the left. And then we'll take our audio for the right and move it ever so slightly to the right. Now you want to keep these moves very minimal. You're just trying to have a little bit of a pre on the left and a little bit of a post on the right to complement the center. So let's take a listen to what that sounds like. Lying on the road next to you. Now another thing you want to do is lower the volume of the left and right. Because again, we're complementing the lead that's down the center. We're not trying to overtake it. So let's bring the volume down a little bit. All right, and in the full mix. Now there's additional things that we can do so that we can help that center vocal to stand out more while still taking up more of the stereo field on the left and right. One thing we can do is adjust our EQs. Oftentimes you want the center to have more of the low frequencies and more of the high frequencies. In this case, we're going to cut out a little extra on the lows. And same thing with the highs. We can dial back the high a little bit. Okay, so that we let that center vocal shine there. And then I'll do the same thing with the right vocal. Okay, so now we might actually have to bring the volume of these up a little bit because of our adjustments so that we can still hear it. Lying on the road next to you. Okay, and then another thing that we can do is instead of time shifting these manually by clicking and dragging, we could have them the way that they are and add mono delays to each of these channels. So I'm going to add a delay here, so panning 100% right for the right and 100% left for the left. Now let's take a listen. Lying on the road next to you. Now the biggest thing is we want to have a very short delay. So let's do a sync delay and as short as we can possibly make it. Lying on the road next to you. Okay, so let's listen to it with all of that put together with the delay. Lying on the road next to you. Okay, and to hear it without the center lead, so this is what's going on with those duplicated tracks. Lying on the road next to you. So you can add extra feedback if you want for the delay, and let's hear it in the context of the mix. Lying on the road next to you. So the more processing that you put on it, the more it starts to sound unnatural. So if you want to dial those back a little bit so they sit better, and then we can even bring up our leads a little bit more. You can also achieve this effect similarly if you're using a chorus effect on your lead. So this again can sound unnatural really fast, so you want to be careful with that. But if I go just my lead and then I go and add a chorus effect, and I'm going to keep most of this stuff, I'm going to bring the mix way down. Lying on the road next to you. So you can hear right there that there's a little bit of additional warmth coming from the left and the right channels because I have this chorus effect on. Lying on the road next to you. And you could even apply this chorus to duplicates on the left and right. So I'm just clicking and dragging these to the effects windows of my left and right. And I'll go back and bring these ones in. And I'll get rid of the delays off of them. Okay, and we can take a listen to that. Lying on the road next to you. Okay, so that brings additional warmth in the stereo field. We'll listen to it in the context of the song. Lying on the road next to you. So we're getting very close to a nice sound that we could use in our final mix. The only other thing that we want to add is reverb, because it's sounding a little bit dry, a little bit dead. And if we add reverb to the lead vocal, that might be just enough, but you could also add a little bit of reverb on these doubles to create some extra width. And some reverb plugins actually come with a widening setting. So I have a separate vocal reverb bus, and all I did was I took my vocals, my lead vocals, and I clicked on the routing to the vocal reverb bus, and it would send the vocal to the bus, and then you can select how much of that track gets sent by clicking the slider and dragging. All right, and then I already placed the reverb on this. For reverbs, the size for this reverb and a lot of reverbs, you can either select the size by doing like plate, hall, chamber, stuff like that. Here you just dial in the size. Length is how often or how long the reflections bounce in the virtual space up to a certain point. So what I would do is I would do 100% wet because this is a bus. So I can decide how much reverb I want to hear from the vocals just by dragging the slider. I'll cut out a lot of the low, okay, and a lot of the high. You can already see that's already kind of cut out, just so that the main vocal has space and the reverb doesn't eat it up. And then you can add some widening. Okay, and a little bit goes a long way with a lot of these settings, so you don't want to get too crazy. Listen to the changes that you're making as you go. But adding that reverb makes the lead vocal sound like this. Lying on the road next to you. Okay, so that sounds nice. Now let's add our doubles. Lying on the road next to you. Okay, dial those doubles back a little bit, and we can listen to the finalized vocal widening in the mix. Lying on the road next to you. Okay, so that's vocal widening. Definitely check out the 7 steps to a pro level mix. Grab your copy for free today. Thanks for joining the Ultimate Mixdown. I'll see you in the next video.